Let me sing for my well-beloved a song of my beloved about his vineyard. Hi, I'm Sue, and this is today's Bible reading of Isaiah 5 through 8 from the World English Bible. I'm glad you joined me today. Verse 2. My beloved had a vineyard on a very fruitful hill. He dug it up, gathered out its stones, planted it with the choicest vine, built a tower in the middle of it, and also cut out a winepress therein. He looked for it to yield grapes, but it yielded wild grapes. Now, inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, please judge between me and my vineyard. What could have been done more to my vineyard that I have not done in it? Why, when I looked for it to yield grapes, did it yield wild grapes? Now I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will take away its hedge, and it will be eaten up. I will break down its wall, and it will be trampled down. I will lay it a wasteland. It won't be pruned nor hoed, but it will grow briars and thorns. I will also command the clouds that they rain no rain on it. For the vineyard of Yahweh of armies is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant. And he looked for justice, but behold, oppression; for righteousness, but behold, a cry of distress. Woe to those who join house to house, who lay field to field, until there is no room, and you made to dwell alone in the middle of the land. In my eyes, Yahweh of armies says, surely many houses will be desolate, even great and beautiful, unoccupied. For 10 acres of vineyard shall yield 1 bath, and a homer of seed shall yield an ephah. Woe to those who rise up early in the morning, that they may follow strong drink, who stay late into the night until wine inflames them. The harp, lyre, tambourine, and flute, with wine, are at their feasts, but they don't respect the work of Yahweh, neither have they considered the operation of his hands. Therefore my people go into captivity for lack of knowledge. Excuse me, I didn't read that right. Therefore my people go into captivity for lack of knowledge. Their honorable men are famished, and their multitudes are parched with thirst. Therefore Sheol has enlarged its desire and opened its mouth without measure. And their glory, their multitude, their pomp, and he who rejoices among them descend into it. So man is brought low, mankind is humbled, and the eyes of the arrogant ones are humbled. But Yahweh of armies is exalted in justice, and God, the Holy One, is sanctified in righteousness. Then the lambs will graze as in their pasture, and strangers will eat the ruins of the rich. Woe to those who draw iniquity with cords of falsehood, and wickedness as with cart rope, who say, let him make speed, let him hasten his work, that we may see it, and let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel draw near and come, that we may know it. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. Woe to those who are mighty to drink wine and champions at mixing strong drink, who acquit the guilty for a bribe but don't deny justice for the innocent. Therefore, as the tongue of fire devours the stubble, and as the dry grass sinks down in the flame, so their roots shall be as rottenness, and their blossoms shall go up as dust, because they have rejected the law of Yahweh of armies, and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. I don't know about you, but I have people that I love coming before my eyes when I read this. Ones who don't acknowledge God, some who have some of the practices listed here, and just they're blind to who God is and their love for for his love for them. And this is how I was years ago before I came to know the Lord. I had no knowledge of him, no respect for him, no use for him. Verse 25. Therefore Yahweh's anger burns against his people, and he has stretched out his hand against them, and has struck them. The mountains tremble, and their dead bodies are as refuse in the middle of the streets. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is still stretched out. He will lift up a banner to the nations from afar, and he will whistle for them from the end of the earth. Behold, they will come speedily and swiftly. No one shall be weary nor stumble among them. No one shall slumber and sleep. Neither shall the belt of their waist be untied, nor the strap of their sandals be broken. Whose arrows are sharp, and all their bows bent. Their horses' hoofs will be like flint, and their wheels like a whirlwind. Their roaring will be like a lioness. They will roar like young lions. Yes, they shall roar and seize their prey and carry it off. And there will be no one to deliver. They will roar against them in that day like the roaring of the sea. If one looks to the land, behold, darkness and distress. The light is darkened in its clouds. Chapter 6. In the year that Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above him stood the seraphim. Each one had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his feet, with 2 he flew. One called to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is Yahweh of armies. The whole earth is full of his glory. The foundations of the threshold shook at the voice of him who called, and the house was filled with smoke. Then I said, Woe is me, for I am undone, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell among people of unclean lips, for my eyes have seen the King, Yahweh of armies. Then one of the seraphim flew to me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. So I used to think this was a vision. Now I believe he was actually there at the throne of God in heaven. So again, then one of the seraphim flew to me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. He touched my mouth with it and said, Behold, this has touched your lips, and your iniquity is taken away, and your sin forgiven. I heard the Lord's voice saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then I said, Here I am, send me. He said, Go and tell this people, you hear indeed, but you don't understand, and you see indeed, but you don't perceive. Make the heart of this people fat. Make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and turn again and be healed. Then I said, Lord, how long? He answered, Until cities are waste without inhabitant, and houses without man, and the land becomes utterly waste. And Yahweh has removed men far away, and the forsaken places are within the land. If there is a tenth left in it, that also will be turned that also will in turn be consumed as a terebinth and as an oak, whose stalk remains when they are felled, so the holy seed in its stalk. Chapter 7. Boy, that's a powerful chapter, that Isaiah 6. Chapter 7, verse 1. Excuse me. In the days of Ahaz, son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah, Rezin the king of Syria, and Pekah the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, went up to Jerusalem to war against it, but could not prevail against it. So here, now we're into the days. Now, the last chapter was when Uzziah died. Now we're into when his son is ruling. So, probably not too much later. So it says, David's house was told, Syria is allied with Ephraim. His heart trembled, and the heart of the people, as the trees of the forest tremble with the wind. Then Yahweh said to Isaiah, Go out now to meet Ahaz, you and Shear-Jashub, your son, at the end of the conduit of the upper pool, on the highway of the fuller's field. Tell him, be careful and keep calm. Don't be afraid, neither let your heart be faint, because of these 2 tales of smoking torches, for the fierce anger of Rezin and Syria, and of the son of Remaliah. Because Syria, Ephraim, and the son of Remaliah have plotted evil against you, saying, Let's go up against Judah and tear it apart, and let's divide it among ourselves and set up a king within it, even the son of Tabeel. This is what the Lord Yahweh says. It shall not stand, neither shall it happen, for the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin, and within 65 years Ephraim shall be broken in pieces, so that it shall not be a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Remaliah's son. If you will not believe, surely you shall not be established. Yahweh spoke again to Ahaz, saying, Ask a sign of Yahweh your God. Ask it either in the depth or in the height above. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, neither will I tempt Yahweh. He said, Listen now, house of David. Is it not enough for you to try the patience of men, that you will try the patience of my God also? Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin will conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. He shall eat butter and honey when he knows to refuse the evil and choose the good. For before the child knows to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land whose 2 kings you abhor shall be forsaken. Yahweh will bring on you, on your people, and on your father's house days that have not come from this day that Ephraim departed from Judah, even the king of Assyria. It will happen in that day that Yahweh will whistle for the fly that is in the uttermost part of the rivers of Egypt, and for the bee that is in the land of Assyria. They shall come and shall rest in desolate valleys in the cleft of the rocks, on all thorn hedges and on all pastures. In that day the Lord will shave with a razor that is hired in the parts beyond the river, even with the king of Assyria, the head and the hair of the feet, and shall also consume the beard. It shall happen in that day that a man shall keep alive a young cow and 2 sheep, and it shall happen that because of the abundance of milk which they shall give, he shall eat butter, for every one will eat butter and honey that is left within the land. It will happen in that day that every place where there were 1,000 vines at 1,000 silver shekels shall be briars and thorns. People will go there with arrows and with bow, because all the land will be briars and thorns. All the hills that were cultivated with a hoe, you shall not come there for fear of briars and thorns, but it shall be for sending out of oxen and for treading of sheep. Verse 8. Yahweh said to me, chapter 8. Yahweh said to me, take a large tablet and write on it with a man's pen, for Mahir Shahal Hashbaz, and I will take for myself faithful witness to testify, Uriah the priest and Zechariah the son of Jeberechiah. I went to the prophetess, and she conceived and bore a son. Then Yahweh said to me, call his name Mahir Shahal Hashbaz, for before the child knows how to say, my father and my mother, the riches of Damascus and the plunder of Samaria will be carried away by the king of Assyria. Yahweh spoke to me yet again, saying, because this people have refused the waters of Shiloh that go softly, and rejoice in Rezin and Remaliah's son. Now therefore, behold, the Lord brings upon them the mighty flood waters of the river, the king of Assyria in all his glory. It will come up over the channels and up over its banks. It will sweep onward into Judah. It will overflow and pass through. It will reach even to the neck and the stretching out of the wings, and fill the width of your land, Emmanuel. Make an uproar, you people, and be broken in pieces. Listen, all you far countries, dress for battle and be shattered. Dress for battle and be shattered. Take counsel together, and it will be brought to nothing. Speak the word, and it will not stand, for God is with us. For Yahweh spoke thus to me with a strong hand, and instructed me not to walk in the way of this people, saying, don't say a conspiracy concerning all about which this people say a conspiracy. Neither fear their threats nor be terrorized. Yahweh of armies is who you must respect as holy. He is the one you must fear. He is the one you must dread. He will be a sanctuary, but for both houses of Israel. He will be a trap and a snare for the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Many will stumble over it, fall, be broken, ensnared, and be captured. Write up the testimony, seal the law among the disciples. I will wait for Yahweh, who hides his face from the house of Jacob, and I will look for him. And I will look for him. Behold, I and the children whom Yahweh has given me are for signs and for wonders in Israel, from Yahweh of armies who dwells in Mount Zion. When they tell you, consult with those who have familiar spirits and with wizards who chirp and who mutter, shouldn't a people consult with their God? Should they consult with the dead on behalf of the living? Turn to the law and to the testimony. If they don't speak according to this word, surely there is no mourning for them. They will pass through it, very distressed and hungry, and it will happen that when they are hungry, they will worry and curse their king and by their God. It's a strange one. Curse their king and by by their God. They will turn their faces upward and look to the earth and see distress, darkness, and gloom of anguish. They will be driven into thick darkness. That's it for today's reading. Thanks for joining me. Till next time, shalom, shalom.